Today we're going to examine the challenges of leadership. Now, many people look at what's termed consensus management and say what you really need is to take account of the diversity of views. Some people call this distributed leadership. Some people say we need to tap into the wisdom of crowds. On the other hand, other people look at the success of people like Steve Jobs, somebody with a very clear vision of the future who expected people to fall behind that. Now, these present dilemmas that we're going to discuss today with Dr. David Butcher. Now, David, you've worked with a lot of people who over the years have expressed views about leadership and you've seen leadership practice. Are these dilemmas, paradoxes, reconcilable?
Steve, they are. Look, you mentioned Steve Jobs. There aren't many people like Steve Jobs. And of course, what people don't remember when they're thinking about Apple is that in reality, he relied on, as people always do, on the views of many people, not just his own. I mean, it's a myth that there's just one person sitting atop of the pile and who can somehow or other galvanise everybody else to one simple way of thinking. The reality is this, Steve, you don't have any choice nowadays. We build organisations, and the business world, it's so complex that it's never going to be one person or just a few people who can deliver all of the leadership. Not only that, but of course we put a lot of effort into developing people, into educating people. You put people in organisations who are educated and developed, they think for themselves, and that's what we want. So it's a situation where we have to use it. There's no choice. That's what it means going forward, somehow or other to find a way of reconciling diversity of leadership view.
Well, let's take this down to specifics then. If we look at the executive leadership level, what would you expect to see of people that are doing just what you're saying, reconciling these two approaches?
Obviously, if you're talking about a small organisation, Steve, it's still possible for just one person to have a very large leadership presence. But obviously, when you're talking about larger organisations, when you're talking about big organisations, multinationals, what it means at executive level is simply this, that those people must set some kind of parameter, some kind of guiding framework, which is as unequivocal as possible. But they must do two other things. They must indicate within the business that they realise there's many ways of achieving the objectives, the strategic objectives that they're setting. And provided, obviously, you don't break the law in meeting those objectives and you are ethical, then we at the top recognise that's of great value and that is to be encouraged. That's one thing they have to do. And I think the second thing that they have to do is recognise that sometimes people can see more from within the organisation than they at the top can see in certain regards. And therefore, even when you set clear parameters, you should be open to challenge. You should be open to people saying, well, have we thought about this? And maybe there's other ways of thinking about it. And I suppose I could put that in a different way and say, if you're at executive level, you must be open to being led from below sometimes. And that's quite a difficult trick to achieve.
So is this kind of consultative management that you're advocating? I mean, it certainly doesn't sound like consensus management, and it doesn't certainly sound like autocratic management. I'm just trying to get a feel for where you're coming from.
No, it's a good question. It's neither of those things really, although obviously sometimes you do need to say, we have to do it this way. So if that's autocratic, yes. And sometimes you need to say, what do you all think? And if that's consultation, yes. But a lot of the time, it's neither of those things. It's better described as a process of managing diverse agendas and working those things through, giving enough time, airspace. So much depends on relationships. If people in influential positions in businesses have good relationships with those around them, you know, what we these days call social capital in a business, that's just worth so much, Steve, because it is the mechanism that allows for competing agendas. And what I mean by that is agendas that have genuine validity, that they are agendas for the business. They're not just personal agendas. They're not just the agendas for individuals who want to further their careers. And all those things are important, of course. But we're going to see in any organisation, if it's got good leaders in it, throughout the organisation, people who don't literally see it all the same way. The idea of a simple vision to which we all buy in is mission impossible. I mean, it's probably a myth anyway. So that's the key, to be able to work with those diversity of agendas, and absolutely key to it is good relationships.
David, thank you very much.